Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. It's a pretty good week. Well, it's a really great week for comics, but I want to get to this before the rest of the stack because the book is so huge. I just want to get it off the desk. So, the new Adventureman collection has come out. This is not... Adventureman is unlike other series in which they don't collect arcs, they just collect a set of issues, and I think this is 4. Just like the first book was, I also think, 4, and then it wasn't until volume 2 that you got the final issue of the first arc, and I think there are 2 issues to finish this arc that will be in volume 3 coming out sometime next year. It's weird, but the series is great, and the hardcover just came out. I am not going to do a video on this immediately. I will wait until just before volume 3 comes out and then reread this to catch myself up with the story that they didn't complete, and then I'll do a video at that time. So when I reread this, hopefully early next year, I'll do a video on this then. But it is great. I love this book series. Okay, and now for the rest of this. And we're going to start with Batman 129. This is Zdarsky and Jimenez, and I am loving this series. Failsafe is a very real, extremely legitimate threat, and more so than I initially thought. Certainly last issue showed really how much trouble he is causing, and that continues here. It does address one of my concerns, which was a couple of weeks have passed while Batman is recovering from the beating, the absolute beatdown that he has received the last couple of issues, and it does address, I thought it said somewhere it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. I don't see it immediately, but Batman has been out of town. He's been recuperating, and there he is with Aquaman. Some sort of Boba Fett style healing tank. And so the problem I had was no one would just let Gotham be taken over by a robot, right? People would go in there and try to get it back, and the series addresses that. And they say, no, he's repelled all of them because he is Robot Batman. And, you know, he obviously has contingency plans for everything, and he knows what Batman is going to do because he's a robot built by Batman, specifically designed to defeat Batman if he ever crossed the line and killed someone. I don't think this is going to end well for Batman. Things seem so stacked against him. I honestly feel like he might die, which would be nuts, and I would kind of love it, even if we've sort of seen that before with his death, even though it just sent his brain time traveling. Whatever. This book is great. I'm loving it. I really want to see where things go from here. There are preview pages that show the beginning of issue 130. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but it also looks terrible as far as further stacking the odds against Batman. I'm loving it. Dark Knights of Steel issue 8. This is again just a brilliant series, and I once again want to ask Todd McFarlane, because I know he watches these videos. I can't even say that sentence alone in a room without laughing. But Todd, please make toys of these designs. They are amazing, and I will pay you dollars for them. So it's a pretty well-established world as far as 7 previous issues. I guess there was a one-shot, but there's a lot of characters in here. Essentially, there are a couple of kingdoms poised on the edge of war. We have this character who is manipulating people from the outside. I don't think anyone is really aware of him, but here we've got Hippolyta, and we've got the Jeffersons and Lois Lane. It's like, something's going on here. And here we've got Oliver and Canary breaking out of jail, sort of a superhero jail. And this is just an amazing scene. This version of Harley I love her so much. She seems to be the most sane she has ever been, probably. But she is trying to avert war, and it, well, possibly predictably, doesn't go well. And we get to see this amazing version of Ivy. So, there is the last page in this is unexpected, but amazing, and I really want to see what happens next. I want probably more than the 12 issues this is supposed to be. I hope things continue, because I'm loving all of the characters that are in this already, and I want to see more of this world, especially whatever happens next following the events of this series. Antioch issue 2. So this is the spin-off / follow-up to Frontiersman from these creative team. Antioch was the focus of the first issue. He is roughly a Namor-ish character. I guess Aquaman, if you want to go that route. But Frontiersman is a major character this issue. They are both in jail. Antioch intentionally gets himself thrown in jail so that he can meet up with Frontiersman. And things go from there. It does establish the rules inside of the jail pretty well. There is power dampening, and it is a person that's doing it, which I imagine will have consequences, because they talk quite a bit about that person, and I don't think that's idle. I think we're going to see that person. I think someone's going to take that person out, and then everyone in this jail is going to have powers again. It's going to be mayhem, and as the reader, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm loving it. But both Frontiersman and now Antioch are amazing. I do want to point out, once again, Patience, Conviction, Revenge is the previous series that I read from them. I've heard good things about Shoplifters Will Be Liquidated. I have not read that myself. Gehenna is currently being serialized in the Image Anthology 30th Anniversary series, and then I haven't heard of some of the rest of this, but Patience, Conviction, Revenge is also great from the same creative team. Little Monsters, issue 7, Jeff Lemire's newsletter, his Substack, email just came out a couple of days ago, and in that he's describing Little Monsters, and he describes it as, I almost said Lord of the Rings, but it's Lord of the Flies with vampire kids. I think he said vampire children, but I didn't see that until, once he said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Most of the first arc wasn't that, but now we get this cover where there are clear delineations between the characters. Certainly the first arc, this is the new issue of the new arc, so it's been a couple of months since the previous one, but as that first arc went on and we got to know the characters, there was a story developing regarding humanity, and it changed these characters. So things evolved over that first arc into Lord of the Flies with vampire children, and now we are full on in that all the time. And once again, I love Lemire and Nguyen. This creative team is stellar. There's kind of a heartbreaking scene in here involving a teapot, of all things. But just brilliant character work. I love these doodles that are on the wall here. Anyway, I think I've said this about everything in the stack so far, but I love this series. Highly, highly recommend it. There is a trade of the first arc that just came out recently. I advise getting that if you are not reading this currently. Gotham City Year 1. Between issues 1 and 2, I listened to the audiobook for Trouble Is My Name, which is a Raymond Chandler collection of short stories starring Philip Marlowe. So I'm sort of on a noir detective kick at the moment, and I generally love those types of stories, and just stepping back into this was very easy. It is very much in that vein of noir detective stories. We have Slam Bradley trying to solve a mystery, trying to keep himself alive, even though people are beating him up all over the place. There is pressure from all sides. There are mysteries. He's being kept in the dark, and he's just trying to make his way through. He didn't ask for any of this, and he's still a stand-up guy. The problem, if I can call it that I have with the series is where it brushes up against the DC universe. So they establish in issue 1 of this that Gotham is great, that it's better than Metropolis, and the events of this story bring Gotham down to the crime-riddled darkness, the ever-dark that we know today, and somehow Metropolis pulls itself out. And that sort of transformation, I guess, is possible. I find it a bit... I don't know. I mean, certainly Japan after World War II transformed themselves radically, right? But then there's... I think about stuff like Flint, Michigan, and I'm like, there were documentaries about what happened there. The framing device of the series is that in the present, an elderly, dying, probably, Slam Bradley is relaying the events of this story to Batman about his grandparents. And Slam Bradley knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So it's just, it's hard to believe, I guess, that this story isn't well known, that the story hasn't been previously told, because it's not that old. I think it's happening in the 60s. Like, if it were maybe the 20s or 30s, I would find it more believable. But then you couldn't have Slam Bradley talking to Batman in the present because he would be too old. Anyway, it's great. I'm, again, loving this just like everything else in the stack over there. It's really good. That is the one problem I have, is them shit-talking Metropolis and somehow the events of this story, which I don't think is going to end well. I don't think any of it is going to end well. I think it's going to be a tragic ending, and I guess I'll see what happens. But in this, I was talking about pressure from all sides. Slam Bradley earns his name this issue because he gets fed up at one point, and this is so great. Bam! The most surprising thing, I think, is the things that the Waynes say to each other and about each other as well. Like, there's a mystery there too that I really want to dig into. I can't wait for more issues. I really want to see where this goes. I hope that it ends well. I got my fingers crossed, but it's really good so far. Poison Ivy issue 6. Somebody asked me for recommendations as far as DC titles, and I was surprised. I looked at my shelves and was surprised by how much of it is Batman oriented, but I did make a non-Batman list. I did diversify so much. Anyway, Poison Ivy. I've got another one right there. Poison Ivy, right? This was intended to be the end of the series, and I don't think they've gone all the way to make it an ongoing, but it is at least getting another arc. We see here, as far as the artists go, that Takara gets top billing. However, she draws less than half of it, so we get 2 artists and 3 inkers, which makes for a mixed bag as far as the art goes. But Takara does show up at the end, and that's when things get good. I think her art's really great. But there's this huge thing here in the beginning where Ivy is fighting Woodrue, and she's contemplating killing herself because Woodrue's gonna do things with her. And we can see here, this is page 2, she's already stabbed herself in the neck. Now, the blade is on one side of her neck, and it stays on that side the entire time. It's really there for quite longer than it should be, I think. But we get quite a bit of blood there. She never... I looked at this. I looked at every one of these panels, and she never slides the knife across her neck. It always stays on this side of her neck, still, it's quite a bit of blood. And then we get to this, which really is just an amazing panel. I love this. But Woodrow basically threatens Harley at one point, and then Ivy says, well, enough of this shit, and she decides to get back in the fight, which is great. And the concern that I had throughout the series, given everything that Ivy has done in the previous issues, which is pretty significant and I think still needs to be addressed, I was concerned that they were going to dial it back, that they weren't going to, that it was going to be one of these wishy-washy endings where there's the perception of change, but not really, because by the end of it, everything gets put back in the box that it was originally in, and then nothing ever changes, right? But so far, at least, there is the perception of change. She is transformed in this. She has a mission that I think we'll see where it goes as far as the next arc, but I'm intrigued. I will continue getting this. And at the very end here, we do get a Harley page, which is really good. It's really, really very good. I want to see where things go, but it's a good ending. It's good enough. Batman and the Joker issue 1. This is a 7-issue series written and drawn by Silvestri. I could go through this. I find it interesting. Ordinarily, the artist's signatures, to my knowledge, are dated, and I don't see dates for any of the stuff in here. I think because he has been working on this for years. Previews were shown off on his Facebook page many years ago, and it is, I hope, done, complete, so that we're not going to reach a point at some point in a few months where there are delays. So I hope that the series is completely done and that we will get 7 months in a row of issues. We'll see if that's what happens. But I could just go through this page by page, sit in silence, and just show you the line work that is just staggering. Whew. Every page is like that. And ordinarily, like, you know, you just throw an X in there and then the inker comes in and fills the whole thing in black. But no, he draws and he's his own inker. Like, the only other name here, well, letters, sure, but colorist, he's inking all of that himself by hand, probably. But good God, man, what are you doing? No wonder it took so many years. Anyway, there are a couple of things that annoy me a little. Look at this. My God. She looks amazing, by the way. Whew. And that car. Good God. The basic premise here is that there's an sort of mutant-ish Joker running around, and Batman's after him. There's this guy in a hood who apparently has kidnapped Harley, and Batman and Joker are going to team up to take down this mutant, somewhat indestructible Joker. And I guess at some point we'll get to hooded figure and the kidnapped Harley. I don't necessarily like this first page because it seems to be referencing an older Harley, and I think she's grown in every medium since this era of being codependent with Joker. Anyway, there's also this scene here where Batman he does something that is mildly amusing, and he's talking about, people say that he doesn't have a sense of humor. He mentions Dick specifically, and I think if anyone were to know, besides Alfred, so if they see Batman in the streets, that it would be Dick that would know. This guy has an extremely dry sense of humor. There's just a couple of things, nitpicks that get me. Otherwise, I mean, the art in this is beautiful. I think it's worth picking up just to look at the line work. And you can see here, before the colors, it's just ink pages, but whew, I don't even care that much about the story. Just the art is, oh my god, I forgot the cave scene and seeing all the vehicles that are in there. Whew. Yeah. I'll be getting this. Like I said, I don't even care about the story. It's the art. And we're gonna end with Earthdivers. There's a group of Native Americans that are in a time-traveling cave to go back to kill Columbus, to prevent the founding of America, to prevent the world from getting as screwed up as it is. Now, that is all fine. All of that's fine. We get a little bit of development as far as the characters that are still in the, well, it's technically the future, but it's where they start, so I'm going to call it the present. And things certainly developed for the one guy who has gone back in time. There it is, 2112 is the present. And there's a twist at the end of this that is extremely interesting. Really want to know more. I really want issue 3. I want to know where this is going, but it is very unexpected and a welcome development. If you are into Stranger Things, that's a weird sentence, not Stranger Things the show, but Stranger series, Stranger stories, then I do recommend this. And I don't know what's up with this wolf, but I want to know more. Actually, maybe I do know what's up with the wolf. Maybe I do. Maybe that might be a spoiler, but it's on the cover. But you won't know that unless you read it. Anyway, this is very entertaining. I really want to know more about the thing that happens at the end, because it doesn't necessarily make sense, but it, as far as time travel elements, super interesting. I really want to know more, and I'm enjoying this. This is only issue 2. You have time to jump into this if you are interested. So that is everything that I got this week, and admittedly, it is a very Batman-heavy week. It's just, I'm a fan of the character, but also there is some stellar work being produced as far as Bat stories. So really, the first 5 here are really all fantastic. I recommend all of them. I don't know. I will maybe give pick of the week 2. I'll give it to Batman. Some of this other stuff, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not like any of the rest of these are bad. It's just Batman. I don't know. I'm just executive decision. It's Batman. Not gonna explain myself. So that is everything that I got this week. As always, I get all of my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.